Hello everyone, greetings from PayTabs technical support team. In this series, you will learn how to integrate with PayTabs through our PT2 API endpoints. And here, we will walk you through the third integration type, which is the managed form. For the purpose of this series, we have created a very simple Laravel project to walk you through the integration process. But feel free to follow the steps in this series with your own project, whatever the programming language or the framework used to integrate with PayTabs. So, let's get started. In this video, we are going to learn more about how you can handle the post-payment responses inside the managed form integration type. So, let's get started. The first thing you should know is that you can find the full documentation for this part inside PayTabs support portal under the article called the Managed Form APIs Integration Manual. Now, if we navigated inside the integration manual over here, we can see that step 6 is dedicated to handle your post-payment responses. Now, the post payment responses are the responses you receive directly after finishing the payment. So, once the payment is done successfully, if you want to receive the response of this payment, the full response of it, the way you can receive it is through the post payment responses or the notification. Now, there are actually two ways that you can do that. You can configure an IPN, and an IPN is a URL that you configure inside your merchant dashboard, and all the transaction responses will be sent to this URL. And there is the callback response, which we are going to learn how we can do it in this video. And the callback URL is a URL parameter that you send along with your request. So whenever we are sending a request that looks like this, and you want to send a URL and you want to receive this transaction response inside this URL, so we use a parameter that is called callback, and you just provide the URL in this parameter. So simply, this is a parameter, you send it inside your request payload, and you say to PayTabs that once the payment is done, I want you to send all the payment details to this URL over here. So it will be sent as a post request from PayTabs server to your server. So that means that this URL must be an accessible URL, a public URL, and a URL that can receive the request coming from PayTabs and handle it correctly in order to update maybe your system, your database. And it's highly recommended to rely on the callback rather on the return. As we said, this is a server-to-server request that will contain all the payment details. So again, you need to use, as we said, a valid URL, a public URL. It needs to be secured, of course, and once you provide this URL inside the callback response, you receive all the transaction response. So right now we are going to initiate a transaction using this request payload, and for the callback URL we have used a webhook URL. So we have over here a website called webhook that will give you a webhook URL like that one, and whenever you use it and send a request, you will receive the request inside the website over here. This is a simulation to how your URL should be and how it should look like. So now I have copied this one and pasted inside my callback URL over here. I'm going just to initiate a normal payment. I'm going to provide, of course, the customer details. Also, I'm going to provide the shipping details. And I'm going to provide my payment details over here. Now I'm going to check it out. And now, as you can see, once the payment is done, I will receive a request at my webhook URL, and this is how the request will look. This is a response of all the payment details. You have here the transaction reference, your details, your required parameter, the transaction type, and we have, of course, the customer details object, which all its detailed. We have the shipping details object with all its detail. We have the payment result, so whenever the payment is successful, authorized, declined, or canceled, you will receive this inside the payment result object. We have the payment info, which will contain something related to the payment method, the card type, and all of the details. And of course, if you use the user defined object, you will receive the details inside the user defined object over here. So basically, all the transaction details will be sent in this callback URL. So finally, as we said, you can use either the callback parameter or you can configure a URL inside your merchant dashboard, which is called the IPN. And you can check our solution article how to configure instant payment notification or IPN to learn more about it. And finally, if you want to verify the response, you want to make sure that this response is coming from PayTabs, we have a way to verify your IPN callback response throughout our solution article over here, how to verify response received from PayTabs. Of course, we can verify the return URL and we can re-verify the callback URL. Simply what is happening that PayTabs is sending you a signature or you are using some kind of hashing to verify that this callback is coming from PayTab directly. So this is the way, this is the callback, and now we can move to the next part.